So one thing that always baffled me as a Christian is how so many of the people in the community as I was a part of, they weren't really willing to be open-minded about new interpretations of the Bible when a new interpretation would be brought up. And the most prominent, I guess, topics rather is the LGBTQ issues, life after death as a non-Christian, etc., etc. But today I'm going to be talking about, like gay marriage, all that kind of stuff. So I noticed that when I would um, catch up with certain people from my former church, the ones who were non-affirming, that, like no matter what kind of like evidence I would present to them, convincing evidence like studies that find that conversion therapy doesn't work, but rather it actually leads to more damage, more trauma, and potentially suicide. And even in the face of that evidence, like my my friends from that church, they're still like reluctant to say like, oh, it's okay, it's not sinful. There's basically nothing I can say to them that would convince them otherwise. But I noticed that one thing that does convince people who are non-affirming is when they have a family member who happens to be gay. The hope is that the family would be accepting of their gay child. Sometimes, unfortunately, that doesn't happen. But I noticed that when it does happen, and when people actually change their mind, it's for family, and usually just family only. From my experience, when I hear those kind of like turnaround stories, and it just frustrates me that that's basically like the only way to change people's minds. From my experience, even if I'm like a really close friend of theirs, and I present them like all this evidence. And even if like a gay friend of theirs were to say to them like, hey, like, I'm gay also, because they're not family, at least that's how I feel sometimes. Because they're not family, then like their experience is almost like discredited in a way. Um like, okay, family you trust, but friends, at least when I was growing up, there was like this narrative where like you can only trust family, not friends. So that's like the impression I'm getting when like non-affirming people decide not to listen to like, their friends, decide not to change their mind even in the face of like their friends being LGBTQ. And it just really frustrates me. Like, why can't we just like believe that what they're telling us? Why can't we just believe when they say like, oh, I was born this way, it's nothing I can change? um and it's awfully messed up too. Like, I feel like in the church there's so much emphasis on like, racial equality, which um is important. Don't get me wrong, it is extremely important in a church, and it's something I also look for in a church. But racial equality, like helping the poor, those kind of things. But why don't they focus on LGBTQ people? Like, if anything, the poor, the word poor is like an umbrella term that like encompasses like people who are kind of in like the fringes of society in a way. And by fringe, I mean like, um, they're lacking like the, I guess what it could be many things. It could be money, it could be love, it could be all those things, acceptance, etc., etc. So when you think of it that way, LGBTQ people are among one of the poorest groups in modern day society, at least in the Christian world. Yet, a lot of my friends who are in a non-affirming church, they're willing to settle for a church that only focuses on racial equality, helping the poor, but not LGBTQ people. Why is that? Like, when I was in InterVarsity, we were taught so much to like reach out to everybody, reach out to the poor, etc., etc. But when the topic of like reaching out to our LGBTQ brothers and sisters was brought up, I mean, yeah, they'd be like, oh, okay, we're accepting, but at the same time, we're not going to condone, um, acting out on their sexuality. And that's fucked up. Like, straight people, so you're basically saying that straight people, they're allowed to marry people, um, but for gay people, like, they can't, have someone love them, they can't be loved in return. So you're basically saying that to be celibate, which is pretty fucked up. Like, like I guess the reason why I'm making this video is because recently I've been seeing like several pictures of like weddings from people from my former church, and they're like all super happy and stuff. And it upsets me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that they're married, that they're having like a lovely wedding, but it upsets me because these same people, they continue not to really care too much about the whole LGBTQ issue. Like they would always say like, oh, like, it's something I'll think about. But they're not really doing much to try to like be more open-minded about it. They're still sticking to that same church, which says like numbers about like where they're at with that issue. So yeah, when I just see like my friends from that church getting married and stuff, it just frustrates me. Cause I want my gay brothers and sisters to like experience the same thing, not be judged. I want them to have a happy marriage, not be judged or like have less attendance because like their closed-minded friends didn't want to come or didn't accept like to like same-sex people getting married. It's just fucking ridiculous. I don't know. It was always easy for me to like accept like my friends for who they are. I'm not like gay myself. But it was always easy for me to accept it because it makes sense to me. Like it's something you're attracted to your entire life. Um, and research shows that it can't be changed. And when you do try to change it, then it fucks you up. So that tells me that it's basically fucking like permanent. Like it's something you're born with. It's something God created you with. So why the fuck would like he make it sinful and not allow you to like enjoy like love and receiving love like romantically? Yeah. And I guess to like I guess in closing, like I've really been feeling like super uncomfortable. Like I've been starting to feel like really uncomfortable being around like people who are non-affirming. Um, I mean, not like everybody, but like my friends. I don't talk to strangers, so there's really no reason to be uncomfortable around them because I'm not around them. But yeah, I'm sure I'm really starting to feel uncomfortable around my friends who are non-affirming and are not really doing anything to like try to be more open-minded and like um, accepting the possibility that they may be wrong. Like when I ask them like, oh, what do you think is wrong about like the whole LGBTQ thing besides the Bible? That gets them. They can't say anything. Their only answer is, oh, like, well, my beliefs are from the Bible. Like I don't really have anything else to say. Um, it's just sad. Like we don't know exactly who wrote the Bible. I've said that before. I say it again. Um, and it's been translated thousands of times, probably. Um, so things get lost in translation, and we don't even know who the heck the original writers were for sure. And I mean, if we do, like, we don't know where the heck they got inspired from. It could be God, but for all we know, it could be something else. It could just be like they're crazy or something. Um, and yeah, just not like thinking logically when obviously like sensitive issues come up, and just like accepting it wholeheartedly without really questioning it. It's just a really dangerous thing to do, in my opinion. So, yeah, church, at least like past churches, they frustrate me. My friends, they continue to be in that church. They frustrate me too. And yeah, that's basically my thoughts. So, yeah, that's about it. See ya.